Hey everyone, well, thanks for joining us today. We are another week in, and we have some teams trending up, maybe some teams trending down. We'll talk about that here shortly, so stick with us, and we'll be right back.
Yo, welcome to the show. Let me set the scene. Mile High Sports Symposium, living the dream. Broncos in the house with that orange and blue. Nuggets making moves, watch that altitude crew. Avalanche bringing ice, check the skills they display. Rocky swinging bats, ready for game day. Rapids in the mix, kicking it with style. Buffs bring the heat, put the rivals on trial. Out talking JJT, they got the scoop. Mile High vibes, feel that energy rise. Sports on the menu, watch the crowd mesmerize. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am one of your hosts, JT Matthews, and my co-host is the Doctor, Nicholas Manning. Doc, what's up? How are you? Happy snowy Wednesday.
Yeah. It's actually like, in terms of snow, it's not that bad, but not fun. Not gonna lie. Driving in this crowd was not fun.
Ideal
And for the most part, it was like, it's usually the other drivers, because I'm phenomenal. But I have had to shovel twice, so to give people their a little bit of grace here. It's a 2 times a shoveler day. Shovel this morning, shovel just a little bit ago.
Yep.
Probably will shovel again one more time. I
still
don't know if
coming
you know this. But I believe in maintaining your driveway. I had never had we're going to go on a history tour. Okay. A little bit about about the dock. Okay. Never had a yard when I was a kid. Always grew up in apartments. So first time I had a yard that I was responsible for, or for driveway, was in my 30s. And then lived next to Bob and Kathy. Bob and Kathy were dope. They're still dope, I think. They're still alive, probably. Don't live over there anymore. So just anyway. But Bob was like, cut your grass with scissors guy.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So I was like, Bob, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I don't want to make your house look bad. And he said, Nick, like, calm down. One, my kid's in college. I don't have anything else to do. And I said, yeah, that said, like, I don't people won't know that. People aren't going to be like, oh yeah, well, Bob's got a really nice yard, because Nick, trying to be mindful about those things. And so he helped me out. And so I said, you know what, though, Bob, one thing that I will make sure is that the driveway is shoveled and that the walkway is shoveled. And so he helped me with my yard. I helped him with his driveway. Nice. And so I was like, nope, I'm going to be a good neighbor. I'm going to be on top of that, because I had 2 elderly folks. I don't want them slipping, walking by the house. Top of that, always did, still will, still do. So I believe in maintaining and shoveling.
I like it.
You're welcome.
I like it.
Do your part, people. Do your part. So if I can't see some concrete, shoveling it.
Fair. I don't really do that too often. So I'm not gonna lie. Part of it's
but people have their own. Like, I'm not gonna sit here on a soapbox, but it's like one of those things that I was like, I don't know how to do anything else, right? So I was like, I don't know how to maintain a yard. I don't know how much seed you put on. I mean, like, legit, he's out there with scissors. I'm like, I don't even know what's the length. Like, I don't know. So I was like, you know what I do though? I know manual labor, and I can go shovel. And so that's how I contributed to the neighborhood. Was I made sure that our driveways, our walkways were shoveled. So I did theirs, just to thank you. So they offered me free yard advice and support. So then I was able to kind of learn and maintain my yard, but I didn't know, and I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew how to shovel. So
I like it.
So now it's just a thing. Now I feel like if I don't do that, like, it causes anxiety now, which is not healthy, probably.
Yeah, that's you should probably talk to someone about that.
I am.
Okay, that's good.
What we're doing right now. So I'm checking in. See, my man. Yep.
What's
Regular
up?
check-in. Yep. I just want to make sure I'm okay. All that stuff. But all jokes aside, I'm good. It's full throes of craziness in my life. Some professional development stuff is occurring, which I really appreciate. And I am pulled in some directions. And so I'm actually grateful for this hour just to be able to talk sports and not a whole bunch of other stuff. And so I'm solid, man. How are you?
I'm good. Just enjoying the day. Got a bunch of chillins running around. So if you hear noise in the background that's loud, it's probably them jumping around upstairs. But it's all good, man. I'm enjoying the day. Staying inside for the most part. Got a doctor's appointment, so I may have to jump off the stream a little bit early. We may be cutting it a little bit early today, but we're going to get everything in. So we should probably get started. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the Avs? You want to start with the Nugs?
Let's start with the Nuggets because they're the least happy.
I think that they are going to be maybe one of our longer talking points because I just want to get your feel about this team so far. So right now the Nuggets are 14-6, so still pretty good. Still pretty good as far as records go. However, the team health is not good. Aaron Gordon's out with a hamstring, I think probably for like a month, maybe more.
I mean, didn't it look? I'm glad it's a month. I was worried that it was going to be some more time. So I don't know that I'm excited to say that only a month,
Yeah. Jamal's
irreplaceable, but dropping like flies, man.
Yeah, Christian's got an ankle that he'll be out for another month or so. Jamal just sprained a right ankle. I don't know. I haven't heard exactly how long they think he'll be out. I'm hoping it's not too long. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Julian Strawther hasn't played this year. If he has, he played a little bit early, but hasn't played much recently with the back. Just the team is not healthy right now, but they're in an okay spot. They're doing okay. They're 5th in the Western Conference right now. I just kind of want your take on the season so far. What have you liked? What have you not liked? Let's just start there because I think that there's a lot to break down here. Yeah,
and champagne problem. So they have struggled over the last couple, losing to a Mavericks team. It's not great, but Anthony Davis back. Klay Thompson is still a shooter, I've heard.
Jamal twisted his ankle in the third quarter.
Yep. And then that kind of coincides with the slide a little bit. But to be honest with you, if I think they got out to a strong enough start this season to give us all a glimpse of how good this team can be. And so I think with that, I'm grateful that it's happening in December to get right by March.
Yeah.
So that we're not running into these problems in May and June when it matters. So that part I think is at least a little bit of if you're going to go through it, now is the time to do it, right? Right into the All-Star break, you get some added breaks here and there with some of those things. I would agree with you. I think the one aspect that's killed them has really just been giving the ball back to the other team.
Yeah.
They're shooting the ball well. They're passing the ball well. I think for the most part, they're playing defense well outside of when they turn it over and give the other team easy buckets. That really is the one aspect. It's if they fix, so the Avalanche, Nuggets, and Broncos have one Achilles heel each.
Yep.
So, I guess after this, you don't have to listen to the rest of the show, everyone, because you're welcome. Right. So Nuggets, stop giving the ball away. At a high clip, especially with as high of IQ basketball players that this team has. It's a little bit frustrating. It's not like it's a, really young team that's up and coming and that no, it's not that. It's a bunch of really seasoned vets who maybe are just getting used to playing with each other, know how good they are. So we're trying to make too many. I think we get cute with the ball a little bit. And so that is the part that I think gives me the biggest concern. What gives me the biggest aura, as the kids say, of confidence is they show up for the big games and have, right? So you show up on the road, you beat Houston, you show up on the road in Mini, you beat Mini. Some of those things. The Suns, who are a very much improved team, you show up on the road and you beat them. So it's like they're handling their business on the road, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I don't see a world in which OKC isn't the 1 seed this year. And so I think because of their depth and the clip that they're playing at, I don't even know if that's something that has to be in the top of your mind, is to like get the 1. But I think that they're steadily in play for the 2. And I think as long as they're within that range, I'm not worried. It's obviously concerning when losing 4 games at home in a row. For a team usually that dominates at home, you have the altitude, all of that stuff. But it coincides with injuries. I mean, Peyton Watson's been really good for Aaron Gordon, but you still are losing Aaron Gordon minutes, right? That you're giving to like Zeke and guys like that who just aren't as good of basketball players. That's why there are starters and there are not. And so that part is concerned. And then, Jokic has his wrist thing that flares up all of the time. My man's got to get on some like anti-inflammatory something like it. At some point we're gonna ask questions about why it's always the wrist. But this isn't that kind of podcast. So we just can.
You are a doctor. So.
That is true. And so I'm there's just so many games in the NBA and NHL season. Get worked up over a week is just, it's like it's throwing the towel in after the Broncos lose 1 game. Is that equivalent to all those things? So I like where they're at. I like that Cam has started to shoot the ball better. I like that Peyton Watson has kind of felt his oats and recognized that he's a really damn good player. Tamar Jr. has etched a really strong role within this team. I'd like to see a little bit more from Bruce, but I'm not worried because I think Bruce is a pro. And then the rest of the guys, Murray came out strong. I think you can't lose that, even though he sprained an ankle. I think we recognized where he's at, and I think they put themselves in a position to kind of figure things out over the next month that they hadn't in previous years. They'd struggled out of the gate and then kind of got hot after the turn of the calendar. And so I think they've given themselves a little bit of grace to stumble through some stuff. So I mean, at some point though, like you can't keep, like guys can't keep getting hurt, like for the love of God, like you're going to run out of jerseys. But I think, we didn't know that this team had some young depth either until recently, but Spencer scoring 28, your 2-way guy scoring 28 and an impactful 28. This wasn't garbage time. He started and played some meaningful minutes. So all of that encompassing, in totality, I feel good about where they're at. Their best player is playing his best, which is even better than he played last year, which was like super crazy. So, I bet that they'll hold serve over the next couple of weeks till a couple guys maybe get back. But they're still winning at a 70% clip. It's pretty damn good in sports. 7 out of 10 ain't bad, and that's them on a struggle. So, do you have any different take? Is there anything that you are more concerned about that I didn't hit? Anything you're less all of that stuff?
Yeah.
What's your take? What's your feel?
No, I mean, I think we feel similarly. Like I've seen a lot of the sky is falling YouTube and Twitter stuff. And I think it is frustrating to lose to Dallas. It's frustrating to lose to teams that you should lose to, like the Kings. But A, it's going to happen at times throughout a season, even if you're healthy. And B, I think what you gain when your starters are out, like we know what these starters are when they're together. And I don't think you need to worry about finding that later in the season. Like they're going to come together, especially your core 3-4 guys, counting Christian and AG when they're back in the lineup. That's going to click. That's going to, even if it takes a game or two to shake off some rust, once everyone's healthy, that's going to click. I think what you're finding right now is who's viable down the stretch off the bench, and in what role. Spencer Jones, you brought up, had 29 points the other night, career high. He had a career high before that, 16 points in a game where he shot really well. he is a great plug and play defender. I think he's a guy that you can use situationally off the bench. He's learning a little bit how to play without fouling, which is important because he's a pretty good defender when he's not fouling. And they can put him out there for matchups. And even if it's just a short time in a playoff series where you need to give someone a few minutes or you need to give someone different looks, you're finding that right now with Spencer Jones, and I think that will continue to kind of show as the season goes on, as we get into the playoffs. And when the playoffs roll around, you'll know what you can come to expect from Peyton Watson on that second unit. And if you need to mix him in with that starting unit, what you're going to get from Tim Hardaway. I think he's been pretty consistent thus far. So I think you kind of knew that's what he was bringing to the table. But the guy, I think they, when I heard they brought him in, he was shooting like something like 60+% from on the wide open three. And he's been doing that exact same thing. And when you put him out there with a team that spreads the floor and a team that has some versatility, you'll get that, and I think it's just a matter of kind of weathering the storm right now. If it's going to happen, let's have it happen early in the season. Let's get everyone kind of right for the playoffs. And does it suck that we're fifth instead of second right now? Yeah, sure. Does it mean anything for a season team to end up, top four in the playoffs? Maybe it means a little bit, but I think when you know who you are and you know what that core group can do, it's just a matter of getting there and then playing the games. And so I don't know. It is frustrating to watch. I've even been like less excited to watch games, even though Jokic is out there. I always like watching Jokic, but you tune in to see them play team ball. And it feels like right now, they are still trying to find like the game against the Kings that they lost, the game against Dallas that they lost. You get to the fourth quarter and you're used to that Jamal Murray, Jokic 2-man game. And when that's not an option, they don't really know how to close out a game yet. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if they can find ways to close out tight games with these guys out of the lineup, with Jokic in the lineup.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and especially when it's mid-game, I think I give a little bit of grace to, it's not like they had some time to mentally prepare that he wasn't going to be, in that role for this team. And so with that, I think, it sucks, but you're going to lose some games that you're not supposed to lose in the league unless you're OKC, right now. But I guess every game for them is a game they shouldn't lose now. But the season doesn't end today. And so I think if there weren't, 5 more months of basketball, I'd be worried.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the one thing that I will say that I liked that they did last year that they aren't doing this year, and I think that they need to yes, well, my computer stinks. And well, yes, it's a driver issue. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but I can't fix it. But they've really don't push the pace at all. And I think that is something that we saw 2 years ago was an issue even when you got to the preseason. They don't have enough ball handlers to get the ball up the court quickly right now. It's a little janky on the inbound sometimes still. I think they wanted Peyton Watson to develop into that, or a guy that can do that. I don't know that he's shown he can do that consistently or at least enough to like initiate offense. And so I wonder if they'll try some things. I wonder if they'll look, a guy like Chris Paul got cut today.
Welcome to walking into that conversation.
And I think that like the part of a draw of having Westbrook last year is that he does push the pace. He's a guy that can push the pace with the ball in his hand. He's going to get it across half court, and he can beat a guy down the court if needed. We don't have a lot of guys like that. I don't know if Chris Paul's going to be that guy, but at least could be a guy that gives you some steady ball handling in a time that you're really needing that, and your team's not healthy. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, if they kind of keep rolling with who they have or if they look elsewhere.
Yeah, I think if he were open to coming here, I don't see the fall in it. If you're transparent with him about what his role would look like in his minutes, I think for a guy that the only thing he's missing in his career is a ring. Where else is he going to go to be a contributing player on a legit championship contender team. Because to be honest, I think that there's like 6 in the league right now that we would, that you would feel comfortable putting $1 on. Metaphoric dollar, not like for real dollar. It's Houston, it's OKC, it's maybe the Lakers and the Nuggets. And then in the East, Cleveland, in Detroit, and kind of like they're cute, but really, does anyone think Detroit's going to win the championship this year for even as well as they're playing?
Right.
I don't know that I trust it in that big leap. Like usually teams got to get over a hump each time, right? OKC to be able to get the championship, like had to get through the Nuggets this year, had to get through like last year. They was a continued trek. Same with the Nuggets, right? We had to get past kind of the second round bugaboo, and then all of those things. And so I think in the NBA, there's usually just some points, like you said just a little bit ago, learning how to win. And so the younger players on this team, Peyton Watson's won with this team. They've won with this team, but they haven't won being a guy that's putting in 34 minutes. Right. That's a little bit different than you're a part of a winning team, but you had 8 to 12 minutes a night. And so I'm all for it. I've been saying it. I've been wanting Chris Paul to be a Nugget for I don't even know how long. But again, just a guy, to be honest, that can come in. If he can come in, one night he might get 10 minutes and another night he might get 25. But I think he's a guy that if he probably at this point in his career probably doesn't need a consistent amount of minutes to be fluid in his role and like know what he's doing. And I think for a guy like this too, he's going to be able to put up, imagine the 2-man game with him and Jokic and just their, his ability to get Jokic the ball in good spots, or even if Murray is able to get at the 2, I think it frees up Bruce Brown to not have to be on the ball, that it's a luxury to have him on the ball with the second group, where he can really maximize his athleticism. And so, Vetman, I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know why you wouldn't. But he's got to want to. It takes 2 to tango.
It does. And I don't know what he's looking for at this point in his career. And I don't know what the Nuggets are looking for. They might be looking for a guy who pushes the pace as opposed to, a ball handling, but, a kind of half court kind of guy. Maybe they are looking for someone different because you have a lot of half court guys. So I think that this team, I think there's still a lot of work for them to do. Cam Johnson's coming around, which is really nice. It's fun to see him kind of start hitting that shot and be a little more consistent with his play. He's doing some nice things out there, and I think that it's just going to benefit him while all these other guys are out to play with Jokic still, with a lot of moving pieces around them. I think that'll kind of help them develop that chemistry as the season progresses. But yeah, I mean, this team is still in a good spot. You're not that many games out of, second place, third place. You could be back in that spot next week, so it's just a matter of living in the moment. Is tough. It's tough to pull yourself out of there. But there's plenty of time left. So I'm hopeful still with the Nuggets. They may not be the most fun product to watch today. But I think as you get towards the end of the season and everyone's healthy, knock on wood, it'll feel more like the Nuggets of old.
Yeah, I mean, it's short term. Jamal's day today is questionable for today's game. So I would assume if he misses this game, he maybe misses this one and one more, and that's probably about it. Yeah. Towards the end of this month, Gordon will be reevaluated, and Christian Brown should be pretty close to returning after that 6 month or that 6 week period. Don't know about Strother. Not quite sure yet there.
I don't think they really have updated anything on him yet.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know. It wasn't a guy that was getting strong amount of minutes outside of that anyway. But here we are. You know what? If they go through this and they're still middle of the pack in the Western Conference, and Cam Johnson finds his shot, and Peyton Watson continues to be efficient in his time when they come back, then to be honest, like, not that people get hurt, but it was probably a blessing in disguise, because it was hard for Cam or the emergence of Spencer Jones or Peyton to get time and minutes while, to fix the train while it's moving. This is a championship caliber team, and you got to kind of figure it out while we're rolling. And now it makes them slow down a little bit to afford themselves with that opportunity. So I think they'll be all right. And so with that, unless you stop me, let's transition to the other team in ball arena that isn't having the problem.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Let's talk about.
I probably could have carried that a little longer. Sorry. Let's talk about it. So we have the Avalanche who have not lost again in a long time. Pretty good team. Pretty good team. They're 19-1-6, undefeated at home, 10-0-2. They have scored a point in 21. Is it right? 21 consecutive games.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And they are plus 51 in there, or plus 50 in goal differential. I mean, it's just, like you sent me, they highlighted in one of the broadcasts, a couple of like the top 5 plus minus guys are all Avalanche. Goaltending is just, it's still absurd. Like they looked really rocky the other night, and you look up and they only give up 2 goals. And so
we're
seeing some pretty dope stuff. Before we go there, apparently, can you answer this before we go, Avs? Or since Spencer Jones is your dude.
Yeah, I like Spencer Jones. I think I have mixed feelings about him being a starter right now, just because I think that him and Peyton Watson are a little bit redundant in their play, and I think the paint's a little bit clogged. But like I was kind of saying earlier, I just think that him getting playtime now is important for the end of the season, kind of pushing for that final seed and potential matchups in the playoffs. Not necessarily you're going to give him a lot of minutes, but if you need a guy who needs to get out there and make Kevin Durant's life hard for 5 minutes, a half, you've got that guy. If you need someone to just put pressure on the ball, who you want him to play full court, let's press all the way down, he's going to be that guy. So I think it is valuable to find him now. It's valuable that he's getting time now. And even though I don't really like the fit stylistically right now with him as a starter, he's doing some nice things out there. He's just got to be able to stay out of foul trouble. That's the biggest thing right now.
Sure. Yeah, and I think for a younger player too, and I think he's playing some guys in some positions where he gives up length and size, and so you're probably gonna have to live with some of that. But for a guy that costs you pennies to get some significant minutes, and you think he'd only get better, I think I'm super. I knew that you helped me understand. Like I liked him from what I saw in summer league, but I didn't think he was going to be a guy at all this year that scored 28 in a game, even if it wasn't something that I thought. So pleasant surprise. Again, if you uncover this and that Peyton Watson can be a significant offensive threat while bringing defensive game, and Cam Johnson finds a shot, but we got to give up, 3 games in the standings to do it, I'll take it.
For sure.
Because if those guys are on and they're contributing with the other guys that we know when it comes playoff time, cuz we're going to be just fine. So back to our Avs. Thanks for letting me throw us off kilter again. I appreciate you, Johnny. Maybe I'm going to throw it to you. So we talked about like a goaltending concerns, right? Or maybe there would be. So Mackenzie Blackwood, goals against 1.84 since coming back. So he's given up 12 goals in 7 games played, 6 games started, which is just phenomenal. So even statistically, he's playing better than Scott Wedgwood, who has been playing phenomenal. So both guys with save percentages above 92%, which is super good, I've heard. And even Trent Miner came in. In an emergency, kind of came in as a sub and then started a game, and he won his only start. He gave up 4 goals, but over 2 games, or the 2 games played. So, but he saved 40 shots on 44 attempts. So it's hard because it's like, man, just another week, another set of victims. Like it's an absolute machine And
yeah, it's
what do we say? What do you like? It's now we're on like the positive end of like your team's so good that there's not anything new to say, as opposed to like the Rockies where it's like, yeah, they're on record to be terrible, and the Avalanche are, are poised to be, maybe the best regular season in the history of the Colorado Avalanche / Quebec Nordiques, which has had some pretty dang good teams. So, what's your impression on just on the boys, and anything maybe that we should be concerned about, or that low key, as the kids say, is a positive that maybe we aren't calling attention to maybe more often?
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything really new with this team. I mean, they just continue to dominate. They just continue to take every game seriously. There's some games where they get off to bad starts or maybe kind of falter midway through and kind of give up a lot of opportunities, but they tend to close really well. They tend to, if they're within a few goals, you feel good about their chances of being able to rally. I feel like they haven't really trailed very much this season. I should have looked that up, but I just thought about it. I feel like when I'm watching games, we're always playing with a lead or we're getting off to hot starts. And I think it's just, we've got a lot of skilled guys, a lot of guys that are feeling good about their line mates, about the team. Yep. I think everyone's playing with confidence. Goaltending, when your goaltenders are good, everyone else that is playing in front of them feel really good and play really well. It's kind of that domino effect of confidence. And that's what it feels like right now. Even with kind of some sickness going through the locker room over at Ball Arena, some questions about whether Gabe and Nate were going to play yesterday. These guys are dogs. They get out there, they play the games, and I don't think they want to miss games. It's not, there's no load management talk in hockey like there is in the NBA or other sports. Down, maybe if you get towards the end of the season, you've got your playoff spot locked up, maybe they'll sit a guy, but generally, if they're out there, they're going to go. And it's just been such a nice thing to have two goaltenders that you can rely on, and now that who knows how long Wedgwood will be out. He came out with his back tightened up last game. Probably will happen every once in a while with a 33-year-old goaltender. So it's such a luxury to have Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood as kind of your anchors. And I don't know, it's a team that I don't want to get too excited about just because there's already comparisons to the best ever regular season Boston team, whatever year that was. I don't remember now.
Just a couple of years ago, right? Weren't they one and done too in the playoffs?
Yeah, and they lost in the first round to Tampa. So you don't, the regular season means something, right? Yes. But it's not the end all be all.
It's not how you define the season. That's
right.
I mean, I think if this team wants it so that they, they're not going to get that crappy 4-5 draw that they've gotten, or that was the case last year, right? I think.
Right.
That was the big thing. One thing I think it maybe bring is we were wondering, it's a little bit of like, man, when Gabe gets rolling though, he had 2 points against Vancouver, 3 against Montreal, had another point against Minnie, had another point against San Jose, none against Chicago, but then had 2 previously against Nashville, none against the Rangers, but had 2 against the Islanders. No, sorry, I totally didn't do that right. That said, Chicago, no points, Rangers, no points. Has really started stacking them. Only 3 pointless games, I think, in the last 11. And so he started to get goal scoring, assists getting there. He was getting some good shots. It just wasn't happening for a bit. And now you're starting to see that happen. And when your captain, your emotional leader, is now performing like one of the dudes, like it really, again, resets the bar, right? Like, I think they all appreciated what Gabe does. And I think his presence has been understated for the year. But when now his presence, not just about how we conduct ourselves or what used to be, back in my day, I was really, really good. You boys better step up. Now it's also, back in my day, I was really, really good. And I'm really, really good today. Keep stepping up. And I think, like you said a little bit ago, the guys want to play. Guys want to be, they're accountable to the team to continue to show their best effort and contribute. And that isn't always the case for every team. guys have an opportunity to miss a couple games sometimes.
Yep.
For wear and tear on the body, whatever it might be. Probably very valid
this
reasons.
is a great example, right? Like,
yep. And
if
this
you
is
don't
a team
feel
that's
good,
like,
then you can sit and no one would say anything about it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. 100%. This is one of those teams where it's like, I think I want to be there. On the other side, Wedgie said, hey, like, I'm not feeling right. Like, I don't think I should start. As opposed to knowing that, you're the backup guy, and maybe this is your way to be able to kind of finish as a goalie one, to believe in the team mission so much to be like, hey, I'm not the best option tonight in goal. Like, let's make sure, Blackie's out there, which I used that because that's what they call him. I don't know how I feel about. I know that Canadians, they just add an E on anything. They'd be like JTE.
Right.
Terrible. But you know what I mean. But just for Avalanche fans, I gave that as context. As a biracial individual, I don't know if I'm okay with it. Don't know if I'm not, but just I wouldn't use that in your day-to-day conversations.
Fair enough. Anything else to say on the Avs? I think we're just enjoying the ride right now. I think.
Man, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. They will struggle at some point, but even that, I don't even know what struggling will mean. And take some mental snapshots. You're watching, as we talked about with Jokic over the last few years. There won't be another like that guy, and I think there won't be another Nate or Kale or Gabe Landeskog, and just especially this group together. We'll appreciate it. Just like we thought that Sakic and Forsberg and Footy would last forever, and then when it didn't, right? And Patrick Waugh, you assume that things will, it's Peyton Manning retiring and like this sucks. You don't appreciate what you got until it's gone, kind of thing. So
for sure.
Love what you got, because they're the envy of sports right now. This isn't just a hockey thing. Their greatness right now kind of transcends leagues and team sports. Like, they are just phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk Broncos. I may have to jump out a little bit. Doc may end up finishing by himself.
I will carry it.
But let's talk about the Broncos win over the Washington Commanders to start. Broncos got a 1-point win in an overtime game against the Commanders on Sunday night. A fun game. A lot of the Broncos games haven't been very fun up to this point. They've been more stressful than anything. This one was stressful, but it was also fun. Some great plays by both teams. And your Broncos walk away with another win, extending their streak, and just kind of continue to handle business. How should Broncos fans be feeling about this team after this win?
Yeah, I think I said it when you and I were watching the game.
Yeah.
This gives me 2015 vibes. If you look back at that 2015 Bronco run, most of those games weren't pretty.
Right.
They weren't winning. It wasn't, that was 2013. That was when, just you're the cream of the crop and everyone knows it. There's nowhere to go but down. And I think this team, they're finding ways to win, and we are also identifying that they can play better. That's pretty dope, in my opinion. I'd rather that be the case, learning lessons and a win. But grit is all grit, and I think there will probably be a stretch where they drop one or two over the final few games. But winning is a skill. It is a cultural. How to close games is a cultural learning. He talked about it with this group of the Nuggets. They don't know how to do that, and this group of Broncos didn't know how to do that last year. They did win 10 games, but they were 1-6, I think, in one-score games last year. And if you look at how playoff football is played in the NFL, it is tough in one-score games. It's grinded out. It's like you gotta, it's a 1-week mission as opposed to the regular season where you're trying to create an identity over an entirety of a year. This one is they're playing kind of playoff style. We're going to play to the game that's there, and our objective is we just need one more point than they do. And I like it. It's not fun for your heart. It doesn't fourth quarter comebacks all the time.
Yeah.
but knowing that someone's going to make a play, and every week over the last 9 weeks, someone's made a play.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true. And it's, it's about both sides of the ball too, on a team and a game where the Broncos defense maybe didn't look quite as dominant as it has in previous games. You still get a Nick Benito spot at the end of the game to end it. No one's really ever counted out on this team. And I think it's a kind of a fun place to be. It is nice to have your bread and butter, your guys that are going to close out a game. But, sometimes it requires other people to step up. Hufanga had a great first half defensively and then kind of fell off in the second half. He wasn't as visible out there. Alex Singleton, I didn't feel like had a very good game, but had a clutch pass breakup in the middle of the field in the fourth quarter. Everyone kind of contributed, and that's where you want your team to be. I think, especially coming in to this time of the season where, things are unsure with a lot of teams in the season. Teams that we expected to be good are not as good as we thought they were going to be. And your team's kind of leading the charge. It doesn't necessarily feel sexy. It doesn't feel like the biggest, like you're winning by the margins that you feel like you should win by as a 10-win team. But, had anyone predicted this at the beginning of the season, which the doc might have, who knows? You'd be extremely happy with where you're at. You don't care if your wins are by one point or by 20 points, right? Like, obviously you want to blow teams out, but just to be where you are now with this record and with this team, kind of the level of health, the consistency you've had, it's a positive place to be. It feels very different than where we've been outside of last year for the last decade or so. And so I think for that reason alone, fans should be excited.
Yeah. Like the great Dominic Toretto said, it's by an inch or a mile, winning's winning. And so just to give some perspective of like, this team has felt off, and again, they can play a little bit better.
Yeah.
But what if I were to tell you, right? So we have an elite side of the ball. So here's some of the rankings for the Denver Broncos defense. They are 4th in points per game, 5th in yards per game. They are 2nd in points per play. They are 1st in yards per play. They're 1st on third down percentage. They are 1st in red zone, and they are 1st in touchdowns given up per game. So those are pretty elite numbers. The offense, who has been, it's been the challenge, has gotten better as of late, actually, outside of the really gross Raiders game that we'll talk about here in a second. But they're 13th in points per game, 13th in touchdowns per game. They are essentially middle of the pack in everything. They're 12th in yards per game, 16th in points per play, 15th in yards per play, stuff. So for as bad as we have thought that they have been, they're actually better probably than we feel, because they've also progressed. I think that there absolutely have been some duds. But one thing I think that we have talked about, and I think Broncos fans have probably seen more as of late, is, if they were to figure something out, it's better you figure it out in wins than losses. That said, now's a really good time for Bo Nix to figure it out. Yeah, I think he was the piece that we were concerned about for a bit, and now he is no longer the issue, especially offensively. He's the reason why they have gotten points over they have scored and been able to win against a good Kansas City defense, and I think a talented Commander defense that since Dan Quinn has taken over the last 2 weeks, they have looked really good in maximizing some of their talent. Not great at the pass rush, but great at design, all of that stuff. And so I think let's take some of the wins in terms within the wins. And Bo Nix is playing really, really well. I think now we know. And so is the special teams. I think the special teams have gotten their crap together over some, the first few weeks especially were just god awful. And the reason why the Broncos lost probably both games, to be quite honest. Now the question is, right, it's like, to me, this team's built for playoff success. To do that, though, you have to have a threat of a run game. I don't know that you have to be prolific in the run game to be successful, especially if Bo Nix is able to minimize risk while being really efficient, which he has the last couple of weeks, kind of supplementing the run game. But I think you have to have the threat. I think RJ looked good in some spots. Julio looked good in some spots the last 2 weeks. But definitely the area where, if they want to win the Super Bowl, which now I think is the expectation, rightfully so or not, you're 10-2 going into a week against the Raiders, where if you win, you are first in the AFC, and really you have the best record in the NFL. If you're not thinking Super Bowl, having the gall to say it, I don't know what you're doing. And so with that, the RJ Harvey has to be able to run to the left side of his face. And be a consistent threat from there. That to me is the last piece. I think defensively, wow. Alex Singleton, I think probably fairly didn't play probably his most efficient game, but definitely freaking impactful. So you have your emotional leader out there and making some key plays. Again, like this team just figured it out. They figure it out every week. Now, if you could get them to play closer to their potential, now that they got the grit, I think sky's the limit, and we'll see. So with that, do you want to give me your quick thoughts about the Raiders matchup before you jet?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a ton of great insight into this, except for the fact that you expect to beat this team. There are a few bright spots on that team. Obviously, Brock Bowers is a great tight end. Max Crosby tends to play well against the Broncos. But ultimately, I think pound for pound, player for player, when you are in the driver's seat, you got to maintain, you got to win your division games. And this is one that you can't be overlooking. And I don't think that they will. This team doesn't strike me as one that is going to fall asleep during a divisional game. It may be ugly. The last showing against the Raiders was not necessarily an exciting one. It wasn't necessarily, it's another one of those games where you feel like, well, maybe we should have been a little more dominant in our win. But these games are teams that know each other well, players that played each other a lot. I think it's hard to blow out a divisional opponent, and
especially on a short week.
A short week. I just expect them to go out and handle business. Nothing, like I said, nothing too insightful, but a team that you should beat and a team that I think the Broncos will beat.
Yeah. So for that, feel free, sir, pop off whatever you got.
I do got a boogie. Sorry, everyone. I got to take off. Doc's going to hold it down. I appreciate y'all. And I'll catch you next week.
Appreciate you.
Later.
So just for the crew, when we're looking at, the matchup that we got going on here, the Raiders have lost. So last 3 weeks, the most that they have scored is 16, a low of 10. So not a huge variance, but giving up 33 points, 24 points, and 31 points. One of those is to Shadur Sanders and the Browns. And so at least before that, they had given Jacksonville they could handle before coming in to play Denver on a short week. So absolutely would predict that the Broncos are going to win this game in a pretty strong fashion. That said, we think that a lot about this team, and that isn't always the case. I kind of want to run over a couple key matchups that I think will be strong influencers of whether or not this team wins on Sunday. And so as per usual, just for, I think, the visual support of it and to be able to go over it, I use the PFF lineup aspect to kind of give some of the visual representation. That looks way too small. Let's do that. We'll do that. Nick's faces are all small, but we're all good. As you can see, really, in all honesty, you got Max Crosby. I really do appreciate that Eric Stokes has played much better given the opportunity to thrive. And you got Jeremy Chin, nephew of the great Steve Atwater, who has really shined on that team. Outside of that, defensively, not great, Bob. Not great. And I think that Bo Nix is a much better place to help capitalize on the opportunities ahead. And so look for Bo to have a really good game. If Max Crosby is able to be contained, even if he gets one sack, but it's not a strip sack fumble, his stat line might look nice. But that means the Broncos offensive line handle themselves accordingly, which in my estimation would probably mean that the Broncos are scoring their fair amount of points. Defensively, I don't know where the points are going to come from. Now that you got Pat back, an ability to shadow Brock Bowers, there's just not a lot of horsepower here for the Raiders. Ashton Genty is averaging, I think I heard it was like 0.38 yards before contact. So the average is essentially once he touches the ball, he is hit. Which when that's your premium pick, but you don't have the offensive line to be able to support a strong run game, like what are we doing here? What are we doing? So with that, I think the Broncos are going to be able to hold it down and win. I'm going to prognosticate a 27-10 beatdown. How would that make you feel, folks? If the Broncos were able to win by multiple scores, we get the cover, maybe single-handedly, they even, win or hit the over mark. Does that matter more? Do you feel better about them beating up or clobbering a struggling team, or are we at a place in our fandom that we've seen enough? We know what this team is. As long as they're winning is all right with me. So let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. But I anticipate that the Broncos will move through this week with little to no challenge. I do think a couple interesting things of note. And so I think that J.K. Dobbins will be back before the end of the season. So I know that that's been floated around, I think, in Denver media circles out loud, but I definitely know that even more under wraps. I think the hope might be before the Chargers game to end the year. And that, what a boon that would be if J.K. Dobbins is able to come back, even just for the playoffs. So originally it was like maybe he'll be back for the Super Bowl in February. But if you're able to get him back early January, with the way that Bo Nix is playing, if you're able to get J.K. back with little to no rust, this is a really dangerous team. And I haven't let myself really be excited about the possibility that they might be in the Super Bowl. But I am now. I think if you've watched what's happened with Buffalo, watched what's happened with Baltimore, obviously the Chiefs, the Broncos and the Patriots are really, their second-year quarterback, 9-game win streak. Some if you've heard this before, they got that going on here. Their schedule looks pretty favorable. You have a tough Chiefs game on the road on Christmas Day, and you are at home against the Packers, which who knows what Jordan Love you'll get. Outside of that, the Broncos really should clean up. And so maybe you lose one of those two games, finishing 14-3, even a 13-4, which at this point with the record the way it is, it means 3-2 over the last 5. I think all of us would have taken that, myself included, and super reasonable. And I think let's go ahead and embrace kind of where this team's at, that they're in, they're in a position to be a big player. Let's not do all of that. Let's go to here. So let's see. Got a really great question from Jay. Jay, we are about to go on a major playoff run right after Christmas loss incoming. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's okay even to have, that be an option, or like a assumption. Winning on the road, Christmas night in Kansas City, in obviously late December. I don't think any of us were chalking that up for a win anyway beforehand. And I think if they handle business, you do have a good Packers team coming in, but it is here. So really, you get Jacksonville here, even though they're playing much better football. Is anyone scared of Trevor Lawrence? Nope. Okay. And then you got the Chargers, which, Justin Herbert's going to be duct taped together by the end of the year. And so really, you could cough that game up and still be in a really prime position to finish with the one. I think outside probably of that Kansas City game, they'll be favored in all of the games, which goes to show kind of what the league thinks. So, let me know what you all think, either via Twitter or in the chat. And so, how do you feel? How do you feel about our Denver Broncos? Ponder that here for a second. I want to share with everyone the awesomeness that is our show. So tremendous shows going on, whether it's Monday, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday with us, Wednesday evening, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, breaking news stuff. You got pregame, postgame, watch-alongs. Like, dear goodness gracious, if you like the Denver Broncos, I don't know where you would find a more passionate, fan-led crew than this one. So make sure that you're checking us out. Follow us on the old YouTube. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We appreciate you. And also, go get you some W. Again, use the code Orange and Blue Networks, OBN10 or OBONIX. Whatever you need to remember. You do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. But I know I'm super excited. I think, again, with the Nuggets struggles, they're still a championship caliber team, and I think that cannot be understated. I think for the Denver Broncos, they're in a really good position right now to move forward. One questionable thing I think I would throw out there is the signing of Elijah Moore, who essentially is like Marvin Mims, kind of. Not exactly where I would have gone to go get some reinforcements to the Denver Broncos offense, but that's what occurred. What do you make of it? Maybe ponder that one with yourself today. I don't know why you would bring a vet like that on unless you plan on using them, even though it is to the practice squad. There are 4 elevations by the end of the year, 5 weeks to go. Seems like a perfect mesh. Maybe that's because you want to be able to have a backup plan if Marvin gets hurt or something. So maybe it's just some due diligence. But that's been a guy that really hasn't caught on, no pun intended, as a receiver. Not that great at catching. But what's their thoughts, or what's the lack of urgency when it comes to the run game? That part I continue to wonder. I think there's some talent out there, at least some guys that would raise your floor on some other folks' practice squads. So investing in what that looks like. You got RJ Harvey at 205 pounds, who's the big running back. You got Tyler Bidet, and you have Deuce Vaughn, and you have Jaleel, who are all maybe 200 pounds in Bidet's case, but probably not in Bidet's case. So rest of that, RJ Harvey in his strong but smaller frame, or shorter frame, not small, shorter. You don't have that. You don't have the bruiser to be able to make sure you're picking up positive chunks or keeping you on track, which, as we've seen since J.K. Dobbins has been out, has been a problem. And for this team to go deep in the playoffs, they'll have to get to. But first world problem, champagne problems, first place AFC problem. So the Broncos are going to win. You heard it. You probably already said it. Let's embrace the awesomeness, because just a few years ago, we had Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson. So enjoy winning when you can, because we deserve it, folks. So appreciate you hanging in. Thanks, JT, for coming in. and squeezing every last second. I know you had to go, so I appreciate you, my guy. To all of our Orange and Blue Network crew, I really appreciate you all, and everyone that jumps in on the podcast, whether you just jump in the comments, whether you interact, all that good stuff. Again, selfishly, it makes my day and my week so much more enjoyable. So for that, I'm grateful for you. So if you can, go out, be nice to each other, go help someone shovel or something. And if you need a prescription on anything, check with a doctor. Let me know.
From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My high sports symposium, let the good times flow.